another segment of the LPE Author Chat series. I am your host, Kimberly K. LaBoo, CEO and founder of LaBoo Publishing Enterprise. And as you know, we are in our special anthology edition for the Mom in Me Volume 2, which will be launching on June the 5th. And so I've been interviewing authors from the book this week leading up to the launch. And we have another spectacular guest on this evening. Tonight we have with us Jackie Taylor Powers. And she is going to be sharing with us about her chapter titled Tomorrow Will Be Better. So welcome to the broadcast, Jackie. Great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
having me.
Awesome. So first off, I just want to thank you for saying yes to the project first. And then I want to thank you for your courage and for your transparency in your chapter. It's phenomenal. You did an amazing job writing it. And so I just thank you for your courage and your transparency.
Thank
so
you.
You're welcome. Why don't you start off by telling me in the audience, why did you say yes to this project?
Okay, I had a little of a push. My sister-in-law, Kenyatta Powers Rucker, she introduced me to this project. And initially I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm ready for this. But then she immediately responded back, giving me so many reasons that I am ready for this. And so after that, I was like, yes, it's time for me to let go of fear of, just looking back, remembering, and all of that, because before I used to use writing just as a coping method. So I've always written, but that was just some type of, a form of getting by. So after all those points of saying why I should do this, I said, yes, this is the time for me to tell my story, because even though I hadn't told a lot of people, I have been able to reach out to moms who have lost children and been, a shoulder for them. So I said yes. So many more, it could reach many more people to let them know that, tomorrow will be better.
Amen. I just think that's so beautiful. And you're right. It does have the ability to reach farther and wider. And so I'm just so happy that you decided to do this and you decided to join us for this project, because I know that your message is going to be healing for someone else. And so thank you again for that. And so you started your chapter off by saying, never in a million years would I have imagined living in this world without my baby girl. She was my everything, the reason I hustled so hard. We had big dreams of conquering the world together. When I just read like the first few lines, the opening lines, I thought, oh gosh, what am I getting ready to read? And so you went on to say it was the beginning of the summer of 2003, and just like always, Khadijah was off to spend her summer with my mom. Shortly after being back in Virginia, she began complaining of a few headaches. Although it didn't seem like anything serious, my mom took her in for a checkup with her previous pediatrician. Nothing out of the ordinary was found, not even in her blood work. I thought maybe she was feeling a little down because she missed me. So I surprised her with a quick weekend visit. A week later, on Father's Day, I received a phone call from the emergency room doctors of Riverside. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Tappahannock.
Okay, hospital, asking for my permission to transfer my daughter to VCU MCV Trauma Center. Without a lot of explanation at the time, I gave my permission and I immediately booked a flight home. When I arrived at the hospital that evening, I'll never forget the look in my mother's eyes. The doctors explained to me that we needed to have an MRI of her brain. After waiting all day to take the MRI, what seemed like an eternity, within the blink of an eye, my life changed forever. So in your own words, so I'm not reading that part, in your own words, just share with us what happened next.
Okay, so after we received the MRI results, and normally, they take you to a room when it's bad news. But we
Mhm.
were standing at the nurse's station. So I'm like, okay, well, let's just see what it is. My cousin, who was her godfather, was there with me. I remember my husband, Neil, he was also there, and we're standing at the nurse's station. And kind of nonchalantly, the doctor says that my daughter has a grade 4 brain tumor, which is inoperable, and the prognosis is less than 2 years. So I immediately dropped to my knees. I remember screaming. It hurt my ears actually. And at that point, they decided to take us into a consultation room, and
Mhm.
where he sat us down and began explaining. Um, Actually, I don't even remember a lot of what he explained in that room, because all I know is he just gave my daughter a prognosis of less than 2 years to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you said the rest of that night was a blur. I got into that small hospital bed with her and I just held her in my arms all night. Immediately, my emotions were all over the place. I was angry. I was sad. I couldn't stop crying. I began blaming myself. I asked God, why me? My daughter was the perfect child. She was beautiful. She had an infectious smile. She was an old soul who loved everybody. She used manners with her elders. I could not understand how a healthy and happy child could end up with a tumor the size of a grapefruit on her brainstem with very little warning and no definite answers. And so she was just regular,
Yeah,
normal,
normal,
everything, and you
hardly
just didn't
ever
even have a
sick.
clue.
Yeah, hardly
Wow.
ever sick. All of her checkups were always normal, blood work normal, and then just probably maybe 2 months before we got the prognosis, she complained of headaches, which I had taken her to her pediatrician when we were living in Atlanta, and
Mhm.
because she was starting to have headaches, he thought maybe it was eyesight, or maybe she needed glasses. So we did those tests and nothing. A few times her gait was off, meaning that she would lose her balance, which is also one of the conditions that comes with it. But not
Mhm.
knowing anything about it, we had no clue of, those were signs. And
Yeah.
again, 2 months before the prognosis, it was just a few headaches.
Wow. You said immediately we moved back to Virginia, not only to begin her medical treatment, but I would need all the help and support from everyone who loved us. So, talk about how important it was to have that support system around you in order to be able to walk through this season with you.
So we moved back from Atlanta. We had been there a couple of years. We're from Hustle, Virginia, so I come from a very big family, where my mom have, I think it's 6 sisters and one brother at the time. So all summers we always spent the summers together, meaning that my first cousins were more like brothers and sisters to me. So I needed the support, just, to kind of
Mm.
remain normal around her, because I could not let myself down in front of her to make her fearful. At that point,
Yeah.
she had no idea of the prognosis because I never told her.
Hmm.
So I needed the
Wow.
family support, financial support we needed, because I couldn't work. I had to move back. So my family pulled together to make it work for us, where we had our own apartment. We were still able to live on our own.
Wow. That's beautiful when your village comes together to support you in
Yes.
your time of need like that. That's amazing. So a lot of people don't have that. And so you
Yes.
were very fortunate to have that. And I know you know that.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
so um and so, people have to, read all of it, so we're just going to share some pieces of it. But I want to skip down to when you said, I was watching my baby girl slip away day by day. What do you say when your child says, Mommy, I don't want to die? Anger began to set in again. My faith began to waver. I was scared. Like, I just, this is one of those questions, one of those sections where I told you, like, I read that and I can't even imagine, what that must have felt like for you.
yeah, I it's still hard to tell the story. That's one of the
Mm-hmm.
reasons why I'm just waiting until now to tell my story, because
Mm-hmm.
it's hard telling the story without the emotions that go with
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
each day I'm becoming stronger and stronger, because I'm letting the next mom know, the next dad know that, you
Right.
know, you're going to be okay. It's not ever going to be normal again,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to be okay. So, yeah,
Right.
I just didn't have any words for her. I just, what
Wow.
could I say? So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. Like, what do you say to that?
yes.
There are no words. So he said, I will never forget that Thursday morning, the last day that Khadijah could talk. We had been listening and singing to Whitney Houston's song, I Love the Lord. I love that song. All morning when she said to me, Mom, I think it's time for me to write my dying wish. My heart broke into pieces. I was shocked and in disbelief, but she did not have one tear in her eye, not a tremor in her voice. Without letting her know my state of mind, I asked her, Why, honey, do you see angels? She said, No, but his hand is on me. And I said, Whose hand is on you? That's when she told me that God has had his hand on her. You said it was now 1 week after she could no longer talk and no longer eat. And I whispered into her ear, It's okay, baby. Mommy will be okay. Even though I knew I would not be okay, I couldn't watch her suffer anymore. I had to let her go. She passed away peacefully less than 24 hours later with me and her family right beside her. There are no words that can explain the loss of a child, whether the loss is due to illness, an accident, or by any other means. The pain is the same. It cuts deep with a never ending bleed. You said it wasn't until you went to a therapy group with other parents who had lost children just like you that you began to feel some sort of relief or comfort. So I wanted to read down to that point because I want you to talk about how therapy played a part in this and what that did for you.
Okay. Initially, I went to one-on-one therapy. That
Mm-hmm.
just did not work for me, because until you talk to someone who knows the same type of pain that you're going through,
Mm-hmm.
they just don't know what to say. And everything they say is wrong.
Yeah.
So initially, the therapy that I was doing one-on-one, it made me angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like it was a person there sitting sometimes waiting for me to talk, and I'm waiting for someone to help me. So when I
Right.
went to group therapy, I was introduced to group therapy by the doctors at BCU, who also lost parents. And
Mm-hmm.
initially when I went in, everyone greets you.
Uh-oh, she popped out, but she'll pop right back in. So, guys, this interview right here, um, I told her, it's like, I don't even know how I personally am going to get through this interview because it's so deeply personal and just heart-wrenching. And that's why in the very beginning, I just thanked her, for her transparency and thanked her for being able to write about this experience. But I'm just so happy that she did because I know that it will have the ability to um, help heal or help someone else to cope that may be dealing with a similar situation. And so it's just so brave of her and so courageous of her to take on writing this chapter and then sitting for this interview. And I hope that we can get her back on quickly. But I'm just so um, it was just so heartwarming to hear her share her story, but also heartbreaking at the same time about losing her daughter and how she's been able to cope with that. So I'm hoping that she'll come back on because I want her to be able to share what she's doing now in her daughter's memory. So just hang with me 1 second, guys, as we begin to wrap up this interview for The Mom in Me 2. And remember, we do have the launch coming up. So even if she doesn't get to pop back on tonight, you'll be able to hear from Jackie also with the other authors on June 5th for our launch. And so, okay, I think here we go. Let her back in. There we go. All right. See, I knew you'd be back.
Sorry,
Connected to your audio.
I'm
There you
not
go.
sure
It's
what
okay.
happened.
That's okay. I kept going, so we're
Okay.
good.
So I think I
And
was letting
so
you know how it was for the group therapy. So
group
I walked
therapy.
into group therapy with other parents who had lost a child. And immediately I felt comfort because they felt the same type of pain that I felt.
Right. Wow. It's nothing like, finding a group of people that can
Jeez, they do it again. What's going on?
I wanted you to talk about what it was like for you writing about something so deeply personal.
Um, I kept waiting into the last minute because each time that I started to write, I had to remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it was, in 2004, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, everything is still fresh.
Yeah.
Like it's never with time that it gets better. You just learn to adapt to it. You learn
Yeah.
to live in a world with, your new normal.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard. And actually I just said, I have to do this. And I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning because it was, just on my mind. And I wrote
Yeah.
until I finished.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what is it that you want readers to gain from your chapter?
So especially, moms, I always say moms, but if you're a parent and you're a dad, you've lost a child, then you have that same hurt. But
Mm-hmm.
my a good friend of mine reached out to me because her employee had lost a daughter, and she wanted me just to talk to her. And
Mm-hmm.
from that day on, when I started talking to her, I knew her pain. And, you know, I was able to help her by just listening. I was able to help her by sharing my story. I was
Wow.
able to help her by saying, tomorrow will be better. And when I say tomorrow will be better, tomorrow necessarily may not mean tomorrow. But if
Mm-hmm.
you keep going, it's going to eventually be a tomorrow where it will be better.
Wow. That's awesome. So tell people where they can read the rest of your story. Like, how can they purchase this book from you?
So it's still on pre-order where you can order
Mhm.
now, and you can go to www.JackieTaylorPowers.com.
Awesome. So you guys make sure that you support Jackie. Go order her book. Like I said, our launch is coming up in just a few days. The books will be available, so they'll be getting mailed out to you. So you don't even have to wait long. And support her in telling this amazing and incredibly heartfelt story. And you may know someone who is in the grieving process right now who may need to be connected to someone who has been through what they are going through. And so this could be a resource for, others to share as well. So support Jackie, go to her website and get a copy of the book. And I want to just read this last little part. You said, I'm often reminded how precious life is. Never take anything for granted and love and cherish each minute. I never thought my story could help someone until that someone said, thank you. I thought that was so sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you just don't know,
Yeah.
who your story is going to impact. And I'm glad that you had that experience where you saw that there is hope in you sharing your story. And so
Yes.
I also wanted to end with, I wanted you to share like what you're doing now to honor your daughter's memory.
So I have a nonprofit, 501c nonprofit scholarship foundation. It's Khadijah Scholarship Foundation. This is our 10th year of our car, truck, and bike show.
Awesome.
So we have given over 38,000 to
Wow.
22 recipients in honor of Khadijah. She always loved school. She even had a school board meeting to attend school when, it was very risky, but she
Wow.
was determined to go, and they said yes. So she went. So just, her courage, she loved
Mhm.
school. And I know that we're still keeping her memory alive by sending other kids, deserving kids, to school in her
Yes.
memory.
That is so awesome. I love that. Um, and so, just for those who may be thinking about writing their story, and especially for people who have a story that's similar to yours, one that it may be a struggle to write, but it's going to be a blessing to you and to someone else that reads it. So, what advice would you give to that writer who's contemplating whether or not they should share their story because it's a difficult story to share?
Just do it, because
Yeah.
I gave so many reasons. I'm not an author. I don't know how to tell my story. I don't, it's so many don'ts until I did, and I'm so glad now that I did, because not only
Yeah.
it's helping someone else, it helped me because I'm still healing. So writing that and knowing that, each day is going to get better and my tomorrow will be better, just do it. Like, don't ever take no for an answer. Don't second doubt yourself. Have
Mhm.
that person on your side to give you the push like I did.
That's awesome. That's great advice. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here this evening with us. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm here with us live and also in the book. I'm so excited that you are a part of this project. I think your story adds so much value to this book. And so I just thank you for your courage. And I thank you for showing up strong. That's awesome.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Kimberly, for the opportunity and what you've
Oh,
done,
you're
because you helped.
welcome.
So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. And to our viewing audience, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the LPE Author Chat Sessions series. And if you are somebody who's thinking about writing your book, make sure you head on over to www.laboopublishing.com and connect with us there. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Take care and be blessed. And we'll see you on future interviews. Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.